Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of October and the full moon that we have in Aries on the 1st. Now, I have to say that I'm filming this sort of mid-September. The next 10 to 12 weeks are going to be on the 3D level, I believe the most intense weeks of this year. We really are entering the narrowest part of the birth canal, particularly through October and November. And it really does feel like a purging, a very deep purging. This is Pluto's action in Capricorn. Any toxicity that no longer serves our evolution is going to be just purged and released. And this is what it feels like. So it's not a comfortable process at all on the 3D level. So we're going to see a lot of outward dramatic action over these 2 months, October and November. But just as setup for October, you might remember on the 29th of September, we're going to have Mars retrograde in Aries coming to exactly square Saturn in Capricorn, both in their own signs at 25 of Aries Capricorn. So they're both very strong because they're in their own signs. But that day as well, Saturn becomes stationary direct. And whenever a planet is changing direction, becomes stationary, the symbolism becomes magnified. So this feels like running into a wall, because remember all the things Mars in Aries is about. It's impatient, it's impulsive, it's about I am, I exist, it's about individual rights, freedom, autonomy, running into Saturn in Capricorn, amplified. Rules, regulations, constrictions, government, etc. All the things that we've seen already this year, and this is going to be repeated really through October and November very strongly. But this is one of the key setup times for October, 29th of September. Then on the 1st of October, we have our full moon at 9 degrees and 8 minutes of Aries. This happens at 2:05 p.m. Pacific and 10:05 p.m. UK time. Now, full moons are always times when feelings, emotions come to a head, and what are they going to be about? What's the quality of that emotion? Well, in Aries is the sign of the warrior. So many people could be feeling very assertive or very angry at that time. And there's a lot happening at this full moon, because the moon at 9 degrees of Aries is actually tightly conjunct Chiron at 7 degrees of Aries. Now, natally, Chiron, and we all have it somewhere, is our original wound, if you like, and it's where we are born with a weakness that we're meant to turn into a strength. So, as I've just said, Aries, the essence of it is about I am, I exist, I have a strong sense of self. When people are born with Chiron in Aries in their early years, there's often a sense of, do I have a right to exist? But that is meant to be turned into leadership. And a couple of examples I've quoted with this before. If we look at the chart of Gandhi or Martin Luther King, who both had Chiron in Aries, you can very easily see how being born into those respective cultures may have made them feel, do I have a right to exist in this culture? But for both of them, it became a life theme, and they both became leaders on that theme of, yes, I absolutely have a right to exist. So for all of us, even if you don't have Chiron natally, because it's transiting through Chiron, and this full moon is highlighting, shining a light on it, this may be a time where in quite a widespread way, we may be feeling, again, do I exist in this society? This may be bringing up the whole theme of individual rights in a stronger way at this time. It's illuminating it. In addition to that, we have Mars, which is retrograde. As you know, it went retrograde on the 9th of September. We'll stay there till the 13th of November. And I just want to say that when Mars is retrograde, in many ways I feel it's more intense because it's closer to the Earth. I mean, if we look at what happened on the 9th of September along the west coast of America, California and Oregon, those horrific wildfires, tragic, just sprung up again exactly as Mars went retrograde. It seems to be very linked. I mentioned in the past, in 2018, when Mars went retrograde for a couple of months in the summer in the Northern Hemisphere, although it was in Capricorn and Aquarius then, it wasn't even in Aries, we had incredible heat waves and many heat recorded deaths. So it's hot. Mars retrograde is closer to the Earth, and it's hot. It's hot in terms of fires, it's hot behaviourally as well. Now, I've talked about this long-term square that we have that is going to keep repeating through October and November, of Mars squaring the Capricorn planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, government, institutions, etc. That's the conflict, if you like, the square. Mars here is not only exactly conjunct Eris by degree at 24 of Aries. In fact, it becomes exactly conjunct to the minute on the 3rd of October. Eris is dwarf planet of chaos and discord. This is the feisty planet that encourages people to kick off, to take to the streets, to protest, to riot against the status quo in order to achieve a better state for society. Eris represents the archetype where people may not feel fully heard. Again, their rights aren't being recognised, so again, that they take to the streets. So Mars is energising very closely that whole archetype of Aries, discord and chaos. In addition to that, they are both conjunct a point that I haven't talked about before called Black Moon Lilith. Now, Black Moon Lilith is a point in space very linked to the Earth's orbit. I don't want to go into the astronomy here, we'll get lost in the weeds. You can easily do an internet search and find out about it. But essentially, the symbolism of Black Moon Lilith, and that is at 27 of Aries, so they're all within 3 degrees here, is raw, untamed, wild, primitive, instinctive feminine. That's the quality. She will not abide by the rules. So within 3 degrees in Aries, sign of the warrior, we have this pretty unruly trio operating very powerfully and assertively. So we are going to see a lot of heat in the world. We're going to see a lot of drama. We're going to see a lot more social unrest in the coming weeks. There's no doubt about that. Now, Mars actually gets to its closest point to the Earth on the 6th of October. And when it's there, it's going to be, remember in its own sign of Aries too, it is not going to be at that proximity for another 15 years. So everything I seem to be saying here is kind of at the extreme. It's very, very strong yang energy in the world. Now, in addition to that, at this full moon, Uranus at 9 of Taurus is exactly by degree quincunx the Sun at 9 degrees of Libra. So Uranus really adds to this theme because Uranus is about freedom. Uranus is about individuality. It's the planet, yes, of awakening. It's also the planet of rebellion and revolution. And perhaps as people are awakening, that's making them want to rebel. That feeds that whole theme that I've just been discussing. And with the Sun in Libra, that is about justice and fairness and equality in society. And maybe those are going to be additional issues during this time as well. So it's super strong. Also at this full moon, Uranus also opposes Mercury. Mercury is at 4 of Scorpio. Uranus is at 9 of Taurus, as I say. So that opposition is going to become exact on the 19th. But nevertheless, it's still a strong opposition here. So there could well be some surprising or shocking news or some disclosure coming out. Uranus is about truth, the piercing sword of truth. It's also related to galactic issues as well. So one way or the other, we're going to see, I think, some very significant news coming out at this time. Also, if we were looking just these very tight few days, on the 4th of October, Pluto becomes stationary direct. So within 3 weeks from, I think it was the 13th of September, we had Jupiter moving direct, Saturn, 29th of September, Saturn moving direct, and now 4th of October, Pluto moving direct. So within a good week to either side, we will see Plutonian issues amplified. This is about power. And this is really about anyone who has power over you. As I say, with this long-running square of these Aries planets versus the Capricorn planets, Capricorn is really representing government or big institutions, or it could even be, your boss or your landlord. Where are you running into power and control issues in your life? We're certainly going to see this out on the world stage. We're seeing it already very clearly. But Pluto, the power issues are going to become amplified round about the 4th. So it can either be in late September when Saturn moves stationary direct with that square to Mars, and again we could have another peak around the 4th where there is an additional constraint, additional rules and regulations coming in for society. And then just a few days later, on the 9th, Pluto squares Mars exactly at 22 of Capricorn, Aries respectively. So this is again a might make right aspect. The other important piece of this is on the 13th of October, Mercury moves stationary retrograde. Now, normally I don't think about Mercury retrograde. I have it natally in my chart. I love my Mercury retrograde because I think it helps me to dig deeper into subjects. But this, I think, will be a particularly important one. It moves retrograde, as I say, on the 13th at 11 degrees 40 of Scorpio. And it moves retrograde until US election day, the 3rd of November. And that's why I think really it's more important at this time. So I have actually written a separate piece for my newsletter subscribers about it's an astrological analysis of what I think may happen at the elections. And I think it's entirely possible that the election itself may be delayed, absolutely sure that the results will be delayed, and a lot more besides. But the other reason this chart for Mercury stationing retrograde on the 13th is so important is this is pretty much the halfway point for Mars in its retrograde cycle between 9th of September and the 13th of November. It's pretty much halfway. It's still extremely close to the Earth. It's at its closest point on the 6th, but it's still very close here. And it is exactly by degree opposing the Sun. So we have Mars at 21 of Aries, Sun at 21 of Libra, again in that T-square to the Capricorn planets. This is a really hot time for events. That Mars is incredibly, incredibly strong. So again, we could see quite a lot of hot events, social unrest around issues of justice, fairness, equality, Sun in Libra. And because we also have, with Mercury moving retrograde, but remember right through this whole period, it becomes exact in January 2021, we also have Neptune square the nodal axis, the transiting nodal axis. Now this is a long term, we've had this for a couple of months, becomes exact in January. Now at a lower level of expression, this can be what's true and what's not. I'm just overwhelmed with drama. What's true and what's not. And that Mercury retrograde may well feed into that. However, at a higher level of expression, Neptune square the nodal axis, particularly the transiting north node, that is our future collective evolution, and it has to incorporate Neptune at the highest level, which is about spirituality. Spirituality, unconditional love, healing, the higher perspective on all of this. And remember, even with those disruptive planets of Aries and the point of Black Moon Lilith, and also with Chiron, the message is, the spiritual impetus is always, always not just to create mayhem, but to move us up in our spiritual perspective, to break down, to accelerate the breakdown of the old if it isn't working for our evolution, and to help us see things from a higher point of view. Now, through these squares as well, what is very helpful for us is that wonderful dwarf planet Haumea, Haumea, just in case people ask and write to me for the spelling. I have talked about her before in previous videos. She's linked to the Hawaiian goddess of fertility. She is the promise for the future, really. She's the promise for the future in that she has an incredibly close instinctive connection to nature. She can produce abundant food at a moment with her magic stick, the Makalai. She also is very linked to a quantum leap in evolution for humanity. And I think this is really what we're seeing now, because the 3D reality is going to be noisier and lumpier and more uncomfortable and more dramatic than we've experienced to date, I think, possibly even in our lifetimes, because there is this purging effect. And it will be very easy for us with all this drama to make that the focus. Very easy, because it'll be like the most incredible movie that we're involved in. However, I believe passionately that everything in the universe is frequency. Everything is vibration, absolutely everything. And I think ultimately it comes down to that one simple fact. So if our focus is on the drama and the polarity and the duality and the right versus wrong, black versus white, left versus right, etc., we are going to be perpetuating, we are going to be recreating our past and our present into our future, individually. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be vibrationally recreating our past and our present into our future, if that's our focal point. It's where do we put our focus? Where do we put our energy? Where do we put our light? However, if we can have a different point of focus, knowing that we are going through this upgrade which has been promised since ancient times. It's an upgrade for humanity, it's an upgrade for Gaia, it's an upgrade for the whole galaxy. If we can put our focus on that, then we are going to create a very different tomorrow. Our today is going to create a very different tomorrow. Now, we know already that we are vehicles of light. We know we are just kind of skin and almost entirely vibrating energy. And if we're at a high frequency of love, gratitude, appreciation, joy, we are going to be at a high level of light, let us say. We know cosmologically that because of the drop in the magnetic shield, that the Earth is getting much more light onto the Earth plane. We're moving through the photon belt. New light codes are pouring onto the Earth. So we know that our physiology, if you like, is receiving that. And can we do that more consciously and deliberately? Can we actually, during meditation, ideally if we can, bare feet on the ground as well, so we're connecting to the ask, can we say, I choose to receive more light. I choose to receive more divine light. And so often when I do that, I can actually kind of not see so much, but perceive this sparkly diamond white light column coming into my crown chakra. So if we can make that our focus, and trusting in the ethereal, trusting in the invisible, we will be creating a very different future that we know is a strong contender for where we're going. Because yes, we always have infinite possibilities in our world, and there are multiple timelines happening at any moment. But essentially at the moment there are two very, very big timelines. This is the fork in the road that I've been talking about for well over a year now. So I think it's very important for us all to know where we are putting our energy. Are we putting our energy on the 3D drama, or are we putting our energy on something much higher, much more loving, much kinder, much more abundant, much more beautiful for us all? And I feel this so passionately. It's all about our frequency. So If you don't know where some of these aspects fall in your chart, please go to this link above. You can download a free birth chart from my website, and then from this link above you can buy a 2-part tutorial video series from my store, and that will explain to you very easily and simply how you can find these points in your chart and what each update I do means for you. And these are going to be lumpy months. They really are. I've felt so much happier for the last 6 months never watching the news. I still know very much what's going on in the world from other sources, but I haven't watched the news in 6 months, and that has made a very big difference, I believe, to my frequency. So I hope that's been helpful for you. We are moving into very fast and exciting times over these coming weeks. And I'd also say really that this is a very short space of time. It isn't long. We're not talking about years and years and years. Our opportunity to really, really work at our frequency over the next maximum, I'd say 12 weeks in particular, is so vital for us individually and collectively. I have a sense of the more we move towards the end of the year and past the 21st of December, 22nd of December, when Jupiter and Saturn move into Aquarius, we're going to feel a real shift of energy. And we are going to be on even more individual timelines than we currently are. So therefore, this is an exercise in our individual responsibility, if you like, that we are choosing. In every moment, whatever is happening in the world, we are still choosing our frequency on a moment-by-moment basis. So this is an incredibly challenging, but very, very concentrated opportunity to really make a difference in our own lives, but also to benefit the collective. And I just feel that incredibly strongly. So really start to try and live from your heart rather than all the information coming in via the head. Shift into the body, shift into the heart as much as you can. And with every decision you make, try and make those decisions from the heart rather than from the head, particularly if you feel you're being a little bit kind of buzzy with all the drama that's going on. So I hope that's been helpful for you, and wish you many blessings. If you'd like more information about my my book, my teaching videos, my very long monthly newsletter, please check out my website, pamgregory.com. And thanks so much for listening.